There's a lot of talk about fight or flight mode, sympathetic nervous system, rest and digest mode, parasympathetic nervous system, and how do I bring myself down into rest and digest? So that is absolutely something I spend a lot of time with my clients on because overall, we want to spend less time in fight or flight mode and more time in rest and digest mode, without a doubt. And we can do that through our breath. We can actually stimulate that nervous system response by changing our breathing patterns. So I help my clients with that. Now, what's more important, and the thing I want to get to in this video here, is to say that at the core of my somatic breathwork sessions, it's not so much about fight or flight, rest and digest. It's about the difference between mobilization and freeze. So when we are in a survival situation, when we are experiencing stress or abuse, for instance, in a sense, even in the fight or flight reaction, there's two ways that can go. One is we can mobilize, we can fight or run, and that's a mobilization. But then there's another thing that could happen, which we can freeze, right? So in the animal kingdom, this would be known as playing dead, right? We figure if we freeze, maybe that'll help us survive. There's also fawn. So in the somatic breathwork process, the question becomes, as we start to cycle the breath through, it's going to start to call things up. And that can be uncomfortable. It could even be scary. But the thing is, we call the things up so that we can process and get rid of them. And so the gist of it is, when we call these things up, repressed stress, repressed trauma, anxiety in the nervous system, when we call these things up, it can be scary. So what might happen is we may call up energy that has been impressed upon our nervous system and the tissues in our body from an abuse situation, an unpleasant interaction, whatever the case may be. And as the breath cycles through and it calls this thing up, we may react in that moment of the breathwork session the way that we reacted the moment that that trauma first happened, even that if that was decades ago. Which is to say, if we were being abused as a child and we froze, as that energy that which has been repressed in the system, even if it's years, decades later, when the breathwork session starts to call that energy up, our nervous system very likely may respond in that same way. If we froze in that moment when it happened in the past, as that energy starts to come up, our system may start to freeze as the energy starts to resurface. Now, what I see in the support of what I do on my end is, how do we delicately navigate this process so you can call up that energy so you don't have to carry it anymore? In this time, instead of being frozen and stuck, you can mobilize that energy, release it, and be set free.